How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. So yesterday I released a video going over all the injury updates ahead of Green Bay Packers training camp, which starts tomorrow, July 26th. I'm super excited for this training camp to get underway. But this morning during Brian Gutekunst and Matt LaFleur's press conferences, we got even better news about Rashan Gary. So over the weekend, we saw both Rashan Gary and Eric Stokes placed on the PUP to start training camp. Those were the main two. There were others such as Jeff Cotton and then also Grant DeBose and Cameron McDonald placed on the NFI list, but the main two in conversation were obviously Eric Stokes and Rashan Gary, two potential starters on this defense, primarily Rashan Gary, one of the best players on this defense and the best edge player on this defense. So seeing him open training camp on PUP was kind of expected. A lot of people don't expect him to even be ready for week one. But today we got a very important update from Brian Gutekunst himself. Brian Gutekunst on Rashan Gary's ACL rehab. He's ready to go. He wants to keep pushing it, and he will. But at the same time, we'll start him off in those next 2 to 3 weeks and kind of see where he's at. I wouldn't put anything past him because he's a different kind of guy. So this is obviously massive news. So as of yesterday, I kind of assumed, okay, he's going to remain on PUP until the regular season and stay on that PUP, which would then keep him out at least the first 4 weeks of the NFL season. But it seems like that's not going to be the case, and it seems like Rashan Gary may be activated off that PUP in the next coming weeks. Now, that's not saying he's going to be 100% ready to play and ready to go week one, but him getting off the PUP in preseason is a huge deal. Him being able to at least practice in some capacity is a huge deal because, like I said, if he were to remain on that PUP starting week one, he 100% wouldn't be able to play until at least week 5. Now, this would be a very quick return for Rashan Gary. As of now, July 25th, it is just under 9 months. It is actually 37 total weeks as Rashan Gary tore his ACL on November 6th. But Brian Gutekunst said he would start him off in the next 2 to 3 weeks. So if we assume the longest and think 3 weeks from now, that would be August 15th, still during training camp. That would be 9 months and 9 days since he tore his ACL, which would be an extremely early recovery. But like Brian Gutekunst said, you can't put anything past him. The recovery times for ACL injuries are definitely different than they were 10 years ago. Players are recovering a lot faster. Sports medicine is a lot better. We saw with Elton Jenkins last year, I believe, come back in just around 10 months, and that's pretty impressive for an offensive lineman who tore his ACL. So I don't think it would be that absurd to see Rashan Gary, someone a physical freak of nature, come back in just over 9 months from a torn ACL. But like I said, is he going to be 100%? We don't know. We haven't even seen him on the practice field yet with pads on against an offensive lineman. We haven't seen that yet. We've seen a couple clips of him walking around, and he looks really good and ahead of schedule, but we never know until he actually gets on the field and potentially suffers some type of setback that could happen as well. We've obviously gone through that a lot with David Bakhtiari. Now, I don't hope that happens, and I don't think that will happen, but I think easing him in during training camp, during preseason is an excellent move because it doesn't force your hand to make him miss the first 4 games of the regular season. You don't have to play him the max amount of snaps he can in weeks 1 through 4, but if he's not on the PUP, you can at least have him on somewhat of a snap count if he's ready to do that and start easing him into that defense. The Green Bay Packers pass rush rotation is going to be a very interesting thing to watch during this training camp starting tomorrow. Now, obviously, like we're talking about in this video, it's not going to include Rashan Gary to start. So it's really going to come down to who's going to step up and take that starting role next to Preston Smith. Obviously, Preston Smith is the other starter, and when Rashan Gary comes back, it'll be Rashan Gary and Preston Smith as the main 2 edge rushers, but that's not the case right now. The Packers drafted edge rusher Lucas Van Ness with their 13th overall selection in the first round of this draft. They also have Kingsley Enagbare, a second-year player drafted in the 5th round last year, Justin Hollins, a street free agent they brought back last year, and also undrafted free agent Brenton Cox that could definitely fight for a roster spot. So honestly, I'm really going to be watching this edge competition in this training camp. It's one of the most important position battles this entire training camp, in my opinion, because it's going to be very hard to replace Rashan Gary. Now, although we're getting great news right now, and he may even be able to play in some capacity week 1, I still don't think it's going to be 100%. So they're going to have to replace his snaps, and it's going to be with either Lucas Van Ness, Justin Hollins, Kingsley Enagbare, or a mixture of all 3. I thought Kingsley Enagbare had a really nice season last year, especially for a 5th round rookie, and he really stepped up to the plate after Rashan Gary tore his ACL. But the Packers defense as a whole after Rashan Gary got hurt, the pass rush just simply was not there. They had trouble successful rushing the passer, putting pressure on the quarterback, and it greatly affected their defense, their secondary, and just as a whole, their defense was a lot worse without Rashan Gary. So that's probably why the Packers went out and drafted Lucas Van Ness with their first-round draft selection, to get more talent in that room regardless if Rashan Gary's playing or not, to get more talent in that room. You can never have enough guys to rush the passer, as I always say. And I've said it time and time again, Lucas Van Ness will be seeing snaps week 1 in my opinion, and a significant amount of them, probably around 30% of snaps. I don't think he'll take over as a starter opposite Preston Smith to start the season. That eventually may become the case, but I think it'll be either Justin Hollins or Enagbare, due to them being in the system for over a year now. Justin Hollins being kind of that veteran presence. I think the Packers really like him. I thought he did pretty decent coming in here as a street free agent late last season. Against the pass, against the run, I thought he did pretty well. I know a lot of my viewers don't like Justin Hollins, but at this point, I think he's a roster lock, and at this point, I think he does claim that quote-unquote starting spot next to Preston Smith come week 1. But nonetheless, this is very great news, because if everything goes well in the 2 to 3 weeks when they start to look at Rashan Gary a little bit more, he will be activated off the PUP and start to be eased into practice. I think August 16th is when the Packers start their joint practices with the Patriots, and that's 3 weeks away from today, plus 1 day. So if Rashan Gary were to be activated then, who knows if they'll put him in a joint practice against the Patriots or just have him doing individual work off to the side. But either or, it would just be nice to see Rashan Gary activated off the PUP and starting to get some practice in and potentially be able to be active come week 1. But that about does it for this video. Just wanted to give you guys a quick update on Rashan Gary, a very good update that was announced this morning by Brian Gutekunst. And if you're a new viewer to this channel, I'd really suggest going down and clicking that subscribe button. I'll be posting Packers content multiple times a day during training camp starting tomorrow, including highlights, recap, and any other news such as this. I'll be posting it all here on this channel, so I'd really suggest going down, clicking subscribe, and then also turning on post notifications so you get a notification when my videos come out. Also, signed Packers gear giveaways are starting back up in August. Thank you to Pristine Auction. So just another reason to subscribe to the channel, because I give away a lot of signed Packers gear absolutely free. But that about does it for this one. I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching, and as always, go Pack Go.